Welcome everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Better Questions. I'm your host, Peter Adams, and for those who are new here, I have over 20 years experience in leadership consulting. I'm a published author and speaker in the leadership space, and my mission is to help excellent leaders become exceptional leaders through a better mindset. In today's episode of Ask Better Questions, we discuss tools and exercises you can use to become a better leader. It's all well and good to learn leadership theory, but theory doesn't make you a concert pianist, and practice and exercises do. So this episode plans to suggest some real-world exercises you can do to become a better leader, things that will actually sharpen your skills. So before we start the episode, I'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Colour4 Solutions. And Colour4 Solutions offer leadership training for people who have reached a ceiling in their leadership journey and want to achieve more without dedicating substantial time and effort. So where would I start with practical exercises to become a better leader? Well, the first and most obvious one is self-reflection. Take a leadership assessment or a personality test to identify strengths and weaknesses. Journal regularly about challenging leadership experiences and what you've learned, and ask for feedback from trusted colleagues. I use journaling regularly and on the daily basis to keep a track of what's happening in both my conscious and subconscious minds to make myself a better leader. So another one would be role-playing, which would simulate common leadership scenarios like giving feedback, resolving conflict, or delegating tasks. Typically, I would do this with a partner at the same level as myself, so we would role-play scenarios that are things that we know are coming up. Things like presentations, things like feedback scenarios, things like difficult conversations we know we're going to have. We practice different approaches, receive feedback, look for the most effective way of communicating, and also try and play devil's advocate for each other. It works particularly well when you have somebody who may even be in the organization you're in and knows the people in that you would be communicating with, so that they can have a fair idea of the sorts of responses you are likely to have to play to. Another one I've used is public speaking. I do public speaking quite a bit. I would recommend anyone that wants to become a leader join a Toastmasters club or volunteer for presentations to hone those communication and storytelling skills. Captivating your audience and inspiring action is a key task for leadership. Frequently, you'll have to address the troops, and being able to speak in front of your peers and being able to speak in front of your team and other teams is a key component of leadership. It's not something that is always necessary, but certainly being able to do it is it's something you want to be able to do. The next on my list is mentorship. Now, I've written down here to say seek out a mentor, and seeking out a mentor who can guide you where you want to go and share their leadership experience is invaluable. But also being a mentor yourself and developing your coaching and guidance skills with somebody who wants to get to where you are currently is incredibly important also, because learning what you learn is fantastic. Applying it makes you understand it, but teaching it makes you remember it and live it. So being able to mentor someone else is incredibly important for really internalizing your skills and taking them to the next level. Speaking of building your skills, team building activities. Finding the correct team building activities for your team and finding the best team building activities you can is a key component which will really help you and next level your skills. So facilitating activities that encourage collaboration, trust, communication, those sorts of things within your team, observing interactions or dynamics to improve your team management abilities, being able to stand back and watch your team struggle and flow around obstacles, but also observing your team and the dynamics that are in your interpersonal relationships of your team is key to being able to manage that team well. Active listening. So practice focused listening by giving your full attention summarizing key points, and asking clarifying questions. This active listening is key, but part of that is showing genuine interest in your team's perspectives and concerns. This is more difficult to a lot of people who are not necessarily born leaders. A lot of people I know who have the leadership title are not particularly good at active listening because they're not particularly good at actually showing genuine concern for what it is their team is thinking. And that's part of being a good leader, is actually being genuinely interested in what your team are saying. Further to that, one that I have found a lot of leaders struggle with is delegating challenges. So choose a task that you would normally handle and delegate it effectively. This can be incredibly difficult. A lot of leaders have trust issues, and having those trust issues can mean that it's very difficult to actually delegate something effectively. Giving clear instructions and empowering your team members and providing ongoing support. Learn to trust and leverage your team's strengths. Being able to delegate something is an incredibly important skill for leadership to have, so that it frees up your time and your bandwidth to do other challenging tasks. Difficult conversations. Further to the activities above, where role playing, actually putting into practice difficult conversations and those skills. So practice having open and honest conversations about sensitive topics or performance issues. So focus on solutions and maintain a respectful tone. The way I've always managed to do it when I've been coaching and having difficult feedback sessions with employees and staff is that I've worked on principle. So it's not so much, this is what you did wrong, this is what we expect you to do this. Because generally speaking, people already know what they did wrong. I tend to focus on, this is where we went off the rails, and this is the result I want you to achieve. This is where we missed that result. This is the expectation that we have, then the principle that we failed to achieve. So it's not the expectation, but it's more, we expect you to achieve this principle, and we breached this principle in this instance. And that's the thing that we need to center on. It's the principle. It's not the task. It's not the process that failed. It was the principle that failed. So we need to achieve this outcome using this principle, and this is where we're going to recenter and go forward from here. That's how I've always managed those difficult conversations. Now, the second last one I have here is read and learn. So immersing yourself in leadership books, articles, podcasts like this one, exploring different leadership styles and discovering new best practices, and continuously expanding your knowledge and broaden your perspective are key exercises you can undertake regularly to improve your leadership skills. Giving feedback effectively, which is our last one today. So focus on specific and actionable feedback, both positive and constructive. Offering encouragement and suggestions for improvement in a supportive and respectful manner. Now, it's not just giving feedback, but it's also taking feedback. So allowing yourself to be subject to feedback from your team, and not commenting and just taking it and saying thank you. The reason your team is giving you feedback is to improve your abilities as a leader. And if they are giving positive feedback, great. If they're giving negative feedback, great. Take the feedback. If it's not constructive feedback, you can ignore it. But at the same time, you should listen to it, say thank you, and move on. They've then given their feedback. I do have one bonus, which is I recommend people volunteer for leadership roles in community organizations or professional groups. So step outside your comfort zone, gain some valuable experience leading diverse teams towards shared goals outside of your organization that you would normally be in. So outside your comfort zone, your local church, your professional bodies, there are plenty of places that need leaders. So the Lions Club, your local Apex Club, there are a dozen community organizations that might need your help. But as we wrap up today's episode, it's important to reiterate that asking better questions means constantly searching for improvement. So I recommend that people continually foster dialogue, continually search for better and more efficient ways of being a leader and improving your skills, but also practicing that. So thank you for joining us today for Ask Better Questions. I'm Peter Adams, and until next time, keep asking better questions.